Seb is not being lazy. I'm here with a reason by myself. It's actually because we're going to continue a conversation and I will be putting on my moderator hat for the next 20 minutes. So the next fireside chat will be scaling Lightyear through challenging times. So I want to invite on stage the head of finance at Lightyear. So Uku, welcome. All right. Okay, so we can start.
Testing 1, 2.
Yeah, it's good. All right, we can start with just basic intro. So for those, there's a lot of companies, a lot of people here today. So maybe you can give us an intro, who you are, why you're here, and what is Lightyear.
Sure. So my name is Uku. I'm the head of finance at Lightyear. I've been in finance for the past 15 years, started my career at EY, and ever since 2016 been in the startup scene of Estonia, and mostly in fintech. I was looking after the Americas business at TransferWise, and 3 years ago I joined a fledgling new investment platform called Lightyear, right around the time that it launched. And I was the first finance hire, and I've been building out the finance team and scaling the business ever since.
Nice, thanks so much. Just a technical comment, we don't have the timer on, so we might run over time if we don't know how much time we have, but that's fine for now. Sorry about that. But yeah, and just to remind for those who have joined recently, I have my TechChill hat on today, so I'm representing TechChill from the board side. But yeah, so as you kind of started briefly talking about Lightyear, and I think we discussed this when we catched up, that Lightyear was started kind of in 2020 and then incorporated in 2021, right?
Yes, basically Lightyear, for the first year of its existence, was effectively built in stealth mode, so it didn't actually publicly launch until fall of 21. That's exactly when I joined. Basically, I've been there since the public start of Lightyear.
Yeah.
We launched our UK market first in end of 21, and then in 22 the rest of Europe followed when we launched 20 markets all at once, which was a crazy stunt.
Yeah, I mean, in 2020 and 2021 is the time that many people don't talk about or don't want to talk about.
Yeah, it was the roaring 20s.
Startups, roaring 20s,
Yeah.
we have that again. So maybe you can share what were some of the main lessons while building in this crazy time, and like, can some of these lessons still be applied now and later in the future, or were they more like survival mode then?
Definitely. So, as you pointed out, 21 and 20 especially, was a very crazy time, post-COVID, right? Interest rates were zero, money was really abundant, everyone was raising ever bigger rounds of money and like blitz scaling, hiring, doubling, tripling the team really quickly. So that was right around the time when Lightyear, we also raised a fairly sizable 25 million Series A round in early 22, right before kind of the bubble popped. So we got our coffers full to head into the latter years, the crisis. And then, just as we were signing our term sheet, the war broke out, inflation went crazy, interest rates started going up, stock market crashed, so all those things were happening as we were building an investment platform, right? So it was, but to your question is like, what lessons could be learned? I think like this downturn is a really good time to actually be building a startup. Like granted, like you have funding and that part is sorted out, but it kind of really sets the focus and helps you I think get processes up and running the right way from the get-go, right? You think about your marketing investments really diligently. Does it make sense to spend this? Does it make sense to hire more people into the team? So kind of it sets you up really well for the next phase of growth because you're already thinking in a really efficient manner because you don't really have a choice, right? Because at the time, the funding environment was very different. So we knew that the next round was going to be a lot more difficult than that one was.
Yeah. And would you say that when you're kind of used to this kind of approach of being very efficient, and let's say then the times get better, do you still think that you should be so lean, so efficient all the time? Or is there a time when startups can kind of take a breather and be like, okay, we can spend more money, we can be less lean?
I mean, we were lean in our operations, but we never sacrificed growth for the sake of efficiency or frugality. But we did take a different approach to growth as a result. So we opened up 20 markets all at once in the summer of 22. And our approach was wherever we see organic traction cropping up, that's where we are actually going to pour in investments and double down. It's not like we were it was fairly cheap to open up like a global one size fits all platform for everyone as long as you kind of have it all set up from a regulatory point of view. But basically what our approach was then is only pour on money in terms of investment when we saw that there was something cropping up, there was some demand like from the grassroots basically. And that is our approach still today in the good times, that as soon as we see some traction, we go deeper. We localize. We build in language support. Look if there's maybe local instruments that people want to invest in that we should introduce. Maybe there's tax wrappers like tax efficient investment accounts that we could provide in those jurisdictions. So that's still our playbook, even in the good times now that we're seeing kind of growth across the board.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned you launched at 20 markets, like kind of around the same time, and now you're currently at 22 markets. Is that?
Yes, we've added Hungary, and we actually added UK again, but under our own license, which freed us up to do a lot more things than we could previously do. And we're licensed to provide our services in 30 countries. But what we've chosen not to do some non-Euro countries yet, because while we do have a globally useful product, you can invest into like US stocks, European stocks, UK stocks, all those things. But if you don't have local currency support, then I don't think this is gonna. It's not going to be local enough to be broadly useful. And what we want to do is only launch when we, know that we can be broadly useful to everyone, not, someone who's can do a Swift USD payment into their investment account, right? But if people in Norway or people in Sweden want to, take their local currency and invest, we need to have that support in place before we launch. And that's why we stuck to Eurozone, Hungary, and the UK. Those are the markets that we're currently focused on.
So currency and regulations is kind of one thing, but let's pinpoint the market question and go a bit broader. For those startups who are thinking about spreading to new markets or, who are thinking about expanding and so on, what kind of tips would you give if they're either just adding their first markets or they want to add 20 markets at once, or do you have any tips?
Sure. For us, we were regulated already across the Eurozone, so it was like a natural thing. If all the infrastructure is in place, you might as well just open the doors, right? That being said, we didn't still pour in, say, PR investments or, doing a lot of content marketing in a specific language in a specific. So we opened up like a global product. And I think the takeaway for others wanting to go into new markets, it's just it's really important, and I think it sounds like a cliche, but really important to talk to your customers, right? This is the biggest successes that Lightyear has had in terms of customer traction has always come from what our customers have been saying. We saw a little bit of organic traction in Hungary, people joining our wait list and being excited about it, but it was in the hundreds. But we reacted, we opened it up. Got a lot of traction, and then customers started saying, "Hey, there's actually a really tax-efficient specific account that you could open that is really popular among Hungarians." We're like, "All right, let's build that thing then." So we kind of changed our roadmap up, and in 2 months we had this thing live, and then things went bonkers. Like, we had customer support like red hot, trying to keep up with the growth that we experienced, and all those like explosions are always, people tell you what they want. That might not be true in every industry, but in building an investment platform, people already know kind of what they want. They just don't get it. They see it happening maybe in the U.S. that those customers already have it, but why don't we?
Yeah.
So talk to your customers. Obsess about their customer experience.
That's a good tip for any business, actually. So you talked about like kind of seeing these like opportunities, let's say it like that, in the markets. And when you have this number of markets, and when you're expanding even maybe up to that 30 or beyond that 30, then there's kind of like a line of how specific do we go in each market? How do we alter the solution to that market, right? And how do we keep track of like kind of being on this one roadmap or this one like united still like financial product or company or so on? How do you merge these things of like kind of growing within markets and being like localized and still having that one roadmap that kind of makes sense to be under one company?
Great question. I don't think these are necessarily at odds with each other, right? Like underpinning all of those things that you can do on the Lightyear platform, for example, all those integrations to different marketplaces, different currencies that we support, and kind of the guts or the engine, right? That's all the same. But we firmly believe that especially to win in Europe and win in a pan-European way, not in only just a specific market, you really need to localize. That's what we saw, for example, Robinhood made a foray into Europe, into UK. They basically launched the exact same copy-paste product into the UK that they had in the US. And that launch like failed pretty spectacularly because people wanted they were used to say single currency environment, the dollar, and then people and not doing FX, for example, and then they got to the UK, realized there's all these different there's a whole different currency. People talk slightly differently in a weird way. The jargon is different, and there's tax wrappers, like things that people use to invest in an efficient way. And they didn't localize, and that's we saw that, we witnessed that, and was like, we're going to do it differently. And I think you need to have that global infrastructure, but customer facing, you always need to be talk their language, support their currencies. Map out the kind of tax environment in each of these different jurisdictions, and what are the pain points to customers. Maybe it's super hard to report your taxes in a specific place, right? We can build an automation, push a button, your taxes are off to the relevant authority, and takes that pain away. So you need to kind of understand all those things, and what worked in one market might not work in the other one.
Yeah, tax automation, that's, as an expat, that's a pain I would love to resolve in several countries.
I can imagine.
All right. Lost my chain of thought, but so as we talked about, you were growing through these uncertain times, right? And now a lot of people are also talking about the markets are changing, the businesses are changing, these rough times are coming. I think every single year we say the rough times are coming, but apparently rough times are coming still. Do you think that there's anything, both for Lightyear and maybe for other startups and companies in the room, that you would say, how do you prepare for these uncertain times? Because we don't know what the market will look like, right? Or how the customers will react, or what they will want, or so on. Like, would you say, besides being just lean and like really talking to customers and like viewing the markets, is there anything that we can actually do to prepare for this like uncertainty?
Great question. I think I recently heard this interview with Jeff Bezos that really resonated with me, and I think that's true for every startup. It's yes, there's going to be uncertainty. You know, some evil dictator is going to go mad and invade someone, or maybe there's a bug in China that gets loose, or whatever. Things are going to happen that are going to throw your plans into disarray. But what you should focus on the things that you know that are true. Right. We at Lightyear, we know that customers hate paying crazy amounts for investing. Right. We know they love low fees. They love an understandable user experience, the UI. You ever go into internet banking in your local bank, try to get started with investing? It's super scary. Like it's not approachable at all. People want to invest in a local or a global set of stocks. They want to invest in the Netflix and Tesla, but also some of the local ones that they have. So these are things that we know are true, and we can maybe paint around, maybe respond to things that happen in the environment, but the core of our roadmap doesn't really change. We know that these things are going to be true in 10 years. People are going to love low fees. People are going to love understanding how their money moves. So all those things, we keep that in focus. Yes, we respond to changes in the markets. We were one of the first investment platforms to start when interest rates shot up. We thought that hey, interest is not going to be our core business. But we saw all this money starting to pile in from banks where we were holding customer money. So we were getting paid a whole ton of interest. So we felt like, why not? Let's just pass it on to the customers. It turned out to be like an amazing acquisition channel for us. People started flocking to us to just keep their rainy day fund in Lightyear accounts because while banks were paying them 0% on their deposits, when you put money with Lightyear, your uninvested cash was fetching 3.5% in euros, even more in pounds and dollars. So. Yeah, you respond to things that happen in the market, but keep in focus the things that you know are going to be true 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and I think you're going to have a good chance of winning.
Nice. I'm really happy that you mentioned this, because there were some startups that were saying, oh, we're going to raise money soon and so on. And I was like, listen, you have to hear about this product. So I was low-key pitching Lightyear. I was like, you're losing money. You need to become customer.
We actually talking about responding to things in the market. That was actually when the Estonian market startup scene is actually quite vibrant, and people, we had a bunch of startups that had raised money that was sitting idle, right? You raise a bunch of money and then you burn through it slowly. So it's actually the perfect customer for putting your money in, say, a money market fund, or earn 3-4%, nothing crazy, and it's instant diversification in the asset built in. So we started pitching to local startups and say hey, if you put $1 million in, you're gonna basically get out of the interest, you're gonna get a free employee, right? You'll get 1 FTE for every $1 million that you're gonna put in, who you can hire. Or make your runway longer, make your money go further. So we actually pitched that angle ourselves as well, and it got quite good response out of it.
Yeah, they can extend their their abilities, or at the same time, they're running ahead of interest rates, because if they just have that money standing in their accounts, then they're kind of losing money in a sense, right? So startups, if you don't want to be losing money,
come talk to me afterwards.
talk to Uku. But all right, to those who maybe haven't heard of Lightyear before, and when they check either the website or socials or whatever, and they see, okay, it's in, they kind of get the point of what you're doing. How do you differentiate from other similar financial tools?
Actually, I would even say for us, we see the market in Europe, and it is the majority of money that people invest is still in banks. So we don't really worry about what other brokers are doing or how we differentiate from, say, Trade Republic or Trading 212, or there's a bunch of companies out there who have a really good product, although none that we know that focus on a pan-European product. Trade Republic has a presence in Germany and focuses on Germany. This is a huge market. You don't need to even go outside, and you can build a unicorn or multiple times over. We focus on a pan-European product and going to all these different markets to localize. So that's maybe a differentiator to the startups, but our aim is to get people away from banks, not necessarily these other neo-brokers who have also built a great product. Because it's still that old world of getting charged 4% for currency conversion, or paying 10 euros for a 100 euro transaction. That's the kind of stuff that happens at your local bank. And that doesn't happen on Lightyear. So that's the difference. And it has good reasons for it, because banks are inherently local, right? Latvian banks operate in Latvia. Estonian banks in Estonia, they don't really mingle. And when you build an investment product like that for 1 million people or 3 million people, then it's going to be expensive. We build for scale. We are aiming for 500 million customers and spread our cost base across that. That's why we can be cheap, because we want to be a pan-European brokerage, not a local one.
Awesome. All right, the time is out. So thank you, Uku, for joining us here today at TechChill, and for having the talk. And for startups, remember to look Uku up so you won't be losing your money. But thanks so much.
All right, thanks for having me.
All right, and I'll go down with you.